Good morning and good afternoon, Value First Nation. Welcome to episode 6 of Value First Measurement with Danielle Urban. Happy Monday, August 25th, Danielle. How you doing?
I'm here. I'm we were just chatting about how this is the back to school week, which I know is true for a lot of folks at this point in time. So it's we're all in this together. We show up how we can.
Yes, indeed. And I'm glad you used those words, showing up, right? Because that's pretty much the only way you can abide by what we're suggesting today, which is all about principle number 6 from Value First Measurement, which is we will value pace over speed. And I'm just going to read through this real quick and then we'll get into it. We believe natural value has its own rhythm that doesn't always align with artificial deadlines. We commit to measuring the sustainable pace of progress rather than rushing toward artificial timelines that create burnout and corner cutting. This means we will track consistent progress over time rather than sprint and crash cycles. We will measure sustainable momentum rather than peak velocity. We'll consider team health alongside productivity metrics. We will design measurement cycles that match natural work patterns. I'm going to come back to that one.
Hmm.
And then we will value thoroughness and quality alongside time to completion. Um, so that design measurement cycles that match natural work patterns. This that piece, and maybe in essence, this principle, while super uncomfortable, like you don't have a choice, in my opinion. But to get to this, we do not move at the speed of quarters
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Right. So just as I've learned over the last year, creating all this content, showing up in a different way with all these experts, and you have people come and they think about it in terms of content calendars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I can't calendar out everything for you, but I know we'll be able to talk about something important if we just show up every Monday or every
Yep.
Tuesday. And I think that's at the heart of pace over speed, in my opinion. And to further relate it to what's happening with HubSpot,
Mm-hmm.
it used to be inbound was the place where HubSpot updates happened.
Mm.
That's like hasn't happened in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And we went from once per year to like 10 per day,
Yeah.
right? And that if you can't if you're gonna sit back, and we're seeing the speed part right now as inbound approaches, and nothing creates speed like an in-person event.
Mm-hmm.
But the ability to get burned out and just have so many priorities fall by the wayside because we got to show up here and everybody's rush, rush, rush. And then we get after the event, and you know, the responses, are they where they need to be because we're all burned out, we're all catching up, we're all right. So many ways we could go with this. Curious where your mind goes.
Yeah, well, I love HubSpot as an example. So I follow Stephanie Brown, who's a product manager at HubSpot. I think she was the one who overhauled the marketing analytics last year. And it was very cool. But she has started writing more generally for product managers and sort of speaking from her experience, and has this newsletter, stephm.com. I just pulled it up to verify that was right. But I think it was her who posted maybe today that said, yep. So her post earlier today said, 1 week before inbound, my team made a call. Our rollout plan shifted slightly because we didn't feel ready. And we slowed down enough, just enough to protect quality. Like that is it. Like that's it. So in HubSpot, where we've become accustomed to this absolute fire hose of updates all the time, except for maybe 1 week in July where things slow down to a trickle, but still it doesn't stop. Like, how can you be a member of that culture and also be sure that you're delivering the value that the end users expect and that, the shareholders expect, but also maintain the quality that you need to deliver that value, and then the speed at which it's still impressive, because I think they've been sort of riding that message for a while. But when you've got a big enough team like HubSpot does, and you have such a far-reaching platform like HubSpot does, it's very, I don't want to say easy because I'm not in their shoes, but it's like there's a little less pressure for like one person to deliver all the time. But I love that because it's creating a culture still where that's okay. Like both of those things get to be true, where we have high quality, delivering high value with a speed that is impressive still, and sort of course correcting when it's not feasible. And that is exactly what you want to build. Like they're nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was a decision that they made at some point and they
Mhm.
resourced it. Like that's the key, right? Like so much of it can be so hard. I talk about this with Rob all the time. Like, how do you make time to show up in the community every day? And a lot of what we're trying to do, with Value First Measurement, also this week at Value First Data Summit on Thursday.
Yay.
Um, Very excited about that. It's about understanding the journey that your buyers and your customers are going through, because when you know where they're at, it's much easier to show up in a way that matches, right?
Yeah.
Instead of what we usually do and where these content programs and campaigns and calendars come from is like we're not even paying attention to them. We're like, we need 1,000 leads by this date,
Mhm.
or this new thing is happening. In order to prove it's a successful launch, we need this many leads or this much pipeline, not this many conversations, not this
Mhm.
many relationships. And because of that, like we we don't show up all the time. It is rush, rush, rush once we get, once KPIs start to fall behind
Mhm.
and not only that, like since it's built for this like 3-month period, it's
Mhm.
like we're gonna do it. People might be telling us like that they need something else like right away,
Right.
but this is the program that we've got budgeted and supported, and we brought this team in to help with this. So it's like it takes 3 months just to change the website. So I guess we're stuck with it, even though people in the community are telling us out loud, like, that's not right. That's not how we talk about it. So this feedback loop is another piece of it. And that's such a huge piece of HubSpot's ability, like
Mhm.
to be agile like this as well. Like they are just, it's amazing that they can react the way that they do, but it's
Yeah.
because they're in the communities with us. They're in Sprocketeer, they're on LinkedIn, they're wherever. I have some product managers like Ankur. I know wherever I tag him,
Maggie
like
Philbin
when
was my
somebody
savior
shares
this
an
week.
issue, he's gonna be there in like five
Yeah.
minutes. And he's there because they've been enabled to do that. They've been resourced to do that,
Yeah.
and they've prioritized that over things that other teams might do. I don't know what those are, but like they have to prioritize that, and they do, and they do a great job with it.
Yeah. It's incredible. I know Maggie Philbin jumped in when I had an issue with custom events this week, and she was like, "That's weird. That shouldn't happen. All fixed." I was like, "This is my favorite." Like, I am such a delighted customer, and like will forever have allegiance to Maggie Philbin for the 2 times that she has just so quickly delivered on a fix I needed for a client. But you're right, I love that, and I'm getting flashbacks to when I mostly worked in small SaaS companies and startups, and there was a moment where I was like, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna go work for like a medium-sized company. And I hated it. Um, and in one of my first weeks, we all locked ourselves in a room and we're talking about the campaign. Like, what were we going to run as the campaign? And there was no real input from what was happening outside of that room. And I was like, I think I hate this. And I walked out of that room and it was like 2 hours with, my manager, his manager, who is the CMO. And I was like, what did we just accomplish? And they were like, were you not listening? I was like, no, I was. I just don't think we got anywhere. And I didn't last very long in that job, understandably. But it's like that, and of course, this was a long time ago now, but that kind of planning and that style of execution where it's like we're all going to sit down and we're going to plan the campaign and we're going to execute against this and we're going to benchmark against these like industry standards for this type of content, and here's how it's all going to come together. And I love the idea of a through line. Like we've got these shows, we've got value first measurement, you've got your daily wake up show, and I love that theming where you've got something to tie it all back to and something that people can get to know and count on for the style that it is and the type of content that's covered. But when you want to come together and be like, all right, now we need new sales, it's like, well, if in theory you and I wanted to flip this into something that was generating revenue, which I don't think we ever will in this context, but value first, you can certainly work with coaches. But we're not here to monetize this show. But if we were, how would we flip that into a campaign? It would basically just be like, call us, here's what we're selling, and nothing else would change. Like that is our campaign. As we add a CTA maybe once or twice through the show, we give ourselves like a pre-roll ad, and that's it. But that's so far from like creating the campaign and running this calendar and getting really specific. Like we don't come into this show with any kind of outline. We've even changed the format in the 6 weeks that we've been running it a little bit. So I love that, we've created the space where you can have that flexibility, but yet you're still building some level of brand recognition, some level of like campaign things that you could measure against, except we're not measuring it because LinkedIn makes up numbers, but it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we're closer than ever to actually measuring it because of AI and like this whole, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to lean into the word vibe until it's proven otherwise, because it literally is like that. What you described, your delightful experience, thanks to Maggie taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're getting to a point where AI is going to be able to hear that, and then let the team know, like, oh, Danielle sentiment with HubSpot is very high. And we're going to get to a point where that's the only number that matters. Like all scoring, we're already starting to see signals. Big theme this Thursday is how to think about signals and scoring.
Yep.
And it was a great conversation with Nick Zacketts a couple weeks ago about so much of this is, are you trying to build for conversion that they're going to convert without you there, which is the old way, right? Yeah. Or are you trying to build for signals? And it's much, much different, right? But when you can do that and the signal says they're ready for outreach, and if I can reach them in this moment, there's so much data to support that humans care about speed more than they care about price now, right? And unfortunately, price is one of those things where I can just be a salesperson and just decide to give it to you for free. Like in the moment, I don't even need any systems around me to support me doing that if I decide it's the right opportunity at the right time and I've got to win this deal. You can't just turn the speed on, right, in that way, without a bunch of investment and a bunch of strategy so that not everybody feels like they're rushing around every day, right?
Right.
And that, like, that was a big part of last year. Like when we started, I literally said, first of all, I was like, okay, I want to post on LinkedIn every day. Apparently, I'm only going to do it if I'm on camera live. So I'm just going to start going live every day. And then when I got other people involved, it's like, hey, who wants to show up once a week? Like nothing to do with any other goals of just show up once a week, start getting good at creating this. And I love your previous example, because from the one thing I've learned as I've started to consult into manufacturing and industrial is that a lot of the infrastructure that they have to work with moves 2 or 3 years at a time, right? There's literally regulations and standards and technical meetings that happen twice a year. Nothing moves faster than that, right? So they're literally not incentivized to innovate, quickly. So back in 2020, it was like a huge win to go from quarterly webinars to monthly, right? but it had to be positioned as like the way that we're doing the quarterly webinars is there's a lot of work. We got to do a whole research case study. We got to do it. It's like an application note. It's a ton of work, right? And we're not saying do that every day. Obviously, that's not feasible. What we are saying is, how can you show up more often? In that case, I told that director, it's like, hey, the Q&A content that we get to create on these shows is, a ton of value, like user generated content. Everybody knows that's like a holy grail of stuff. And that's what got her on. Like, she didn't have to decide the whole year's worth of content right away. And she could position it in her mind as something that was not so labor intensive, so that she could even think about showing up like once a month. And I started that conversation with once a week because that's like the whole, Chris Walker and Demand Gen Live, and just starting Zoom calls and inviting people, like sharing knowledge, right? But moving from quarterly to once a month was huge, because then you start to build the cadence. And it wasn't because of any pipeline goals, any lead goals. Like, we knew that would come and help build out the website and all these things. But that was, when I went to the next organization and suggested once a month stuff, it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine like going live or just recording like a webinar that often, even though we have people around. This is key. We're going to end on Thursday with expert-led growth and like the champion stage of the journey. Subject matter expertise is never the limiting factor, right? It is, can we organize ourselves in a way to show up every day, right? And as long as we're looking at KPIs and like quarterly numbers, like, we're never going to get there. Like, meanwhile, we know if inbound were happening in person every day, how many days would you miss?
My brain would explode if we did inbound every day. But
It would happen more than once a year. Yeah? You
yeah,
would be
and
there more than once a year.
definitely I would definitely be there more than once a year. If they did there are user groups and the hugs online and all that, like, there's a lot going on, and I don't usually show up for those, but it's the push and pull. Like, in my personal day, I just had this conversation this morning. We're dealing with our transition week back into school, my esteemed guests. But then
Admirably, by
also
the way.
there's a thank you. There, there's like client needs that are happening around this time of year. This is sort of like the second new year. A lot of things start to happen in September. I don't have that many education clients right now, but there are a lot of people who do. And so I was trying to schedule time to work on a presentation that I'm working on with a partner. And we were both like, dude, my schedule this week is insane. Like, we just need to set the time and show up. And thank God for our Fathom recorder, because that's the only way we can really pull the content out of two people and get it to a coherent state. Because something is recording, like, I can show up every week because you tell me to. And I can show up and talk about a random topic we decide in 2 minutes before we go live, or something that we've set in advance. I'm still not going to think about it in advance, but I'll be ready to talk about it. Maybe I'll put 10 minutes in if you're lucky. But when it comes to like scheduling content and something I need to work towards and develop, it's like scheduling that in between all the other demands of my time is so difficult. And I know I wish I could just like insert Spencer to heal into my brain, because the work streams that he's created for capturing the genius he gives
Brilliant.
in calls and translating that into like social content, he's got that dialed. And I have not even had the time to implement the playbook that he so explicitly shared, because I just haven't connected the dots. But there's so much out there, and figuring out how to put the pieces together to deliver that value it takes work that you have to make time for, and it can be really difficult.
Yeah. And it gets easier when you're able to just show up, like, and be a part of the conversation, right? Because there's so much preconceived notion about how this stuff is supposed to work because of what we've all been taught. And if we don't have messaging on point, we don't. By the way, the quickest way to get to understanding if your messaging is working is creating pace with interacting with the community every day. And when the next new thing comes out and you have a message you're waiting to try, you get to try it right then and there. There's no like focus group testing, and you get real response because you're always there. You're not just showing up, "Hey, I'm doing a survey," like out of nowhere. You never met me before, but I would love to get your honest opinion. You're not going to get any honest opinions when you do that. That's why you have to pay everybody to do that survey. And then you make decisions like, all right, let's not go there.
You're spiraling. We'll pull
Right.
you back.
But this is like, and again, this is another thing that's counter to what we've been taught. There is a very easy path to go down that's like basically a slop where you're just like, I'm just going to show up and create stuff every day. Right. That's not really the community, like go to market inside the community, like being in the market. That's something different,
Yeah.
right? That's why I believe live human content it's gonna be a while before AI can replace that if ever. And HubSpot, among other things, are giving us the tools to show up in that way while a lot of the traditional stuff like can happen, right? Like I was just talking to the product team. Some of the tools that are already out, but definitely some of the stuff coming out of inbound, it's like, man, you can just show up in this way, in a scalable way. So like it's a 100% mindset of like, if I needed to show up every day, because LinkedIn is that 24/7, 365 inbound, right? And if you could be a part of those super valuable conversations that have much higher like conversion rates and relationship development's much easier, like why wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. Like, no, hopefully that's not a surprise for anybody, but it is, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I talk to new freelancers or people who are considering getting into freelancing. One of the things I say is like, I'm doing well because I just keep showing up. Like, I didn't have some 6-month run at this where I was, trying to set something up. And I'm really glad that I had sort of the entry path that I did to this career or this career moment. Because I came into it just wanting extra, wanting stuff on the side, and it made me take random work and build up a portfolio and slowly get into it. I wasn't trying to burst on the scene with some new product. And because of that, I showed up in a very curious way where I was never showing up to like pitch something. I was always just saying like, "Hey, I'm working on this. Can I get some help with that?" Like, "Oh, it sounds like you need help. Can I help you? Can I get paid to help you maybe?" Please. But after doing that for like 3.5 years now, there's a whole huge network of people that see me as an expert, which sometimes I still can't believe, but like I'm able to answer questions that other people can't. And people will ask me specifically for help because of the way that I've shown up in all these spaces. But you can't force that. And you have to make space to do that, among many other responsibilities, and balance it all out. But the way that you interact with other humans and assume that everyone is there with positive intent, and that they're probably going to want your help at some point or be able to point you to someone that needs help and will hopefully have budget, it all just kind of comes together. And I've never had a strategy for social. Anytime that I have, I just fall short of it because I don't do well with checklists and content planning like that. um, Unless you're holding me to it and making me show up every week. But even that, like, we don't do prep. So the fact that I get to show up and connected with so many people over time is what has made my business successful now. Every person that I talk to is just a person. I'm not trying to sell them a product until we're in a sales call.
Right. And even there, you're probably just helping them buy,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you don't have to prove credibility. Like if I could just help people understand how powerful it is to just say you have a show on LinkedIn and all of a sudden, like they're not going to question your HubSpot knowledge anymore. Like they might not have ever seen it, right? It's this crazy, like just neurotic thing, I think. Like, oh man, this guy must know what he's talking about. Obviously, I had to back it up, but I don't have to back it up with the work. I just keep showing up, right? Like that level of consistency is is just something that I think humans are yearning for right now. Um, and it creates this. I think it's one of the only ways to start to access the top of the funnel, right? It's very B2C, like B2C has been doing this forever. You just got to show up enough,
Yeah.
and then once I'm in a place in my life, like the pain is great, I happen to be in the mood on this day, and now you send me the right message because you're there every day sending that message. I haven't consumed it yet, but when I do, it's the right time for me. And then the
Right.
sales process is just completely different, right? And
Yeah.
everything gets easier. So curious as we wrap up, like might have just been able to touch on one, but like what the challenge of all this is measurement, right? That's why we're here.
Yep.
Uh, what are we measuring? What are what are some things qualitatively or quantitatively that you've maybe paid attention to? Measure is probably a strong word, to know that this is valuable activity for you.
I mean, if I zoom out and look at the last 3.5 years for myself, I think that is the best example. I'm not held to much outside of myself. Like, I need to pay my bills. I have small children. Preschool is crazy expensive. Um, but like other than that, there's no board that I have to report to. There are no shareholders. So I recognize that I'm very privileged in that state, as compared to some other folks that might be listening in. Um, but with that, when I zoom out and look at how many people I'm in contact with on a regular basis, it blows my mind. I keep telling everyone, I can't wait to go to inbound because it feels like a high school reunion. And I know Nick Zeckett said that recently too. Like, you show up and you just get to meet all your internet friends in real life. Like, that's literally why I'm going to inbound. Um, and the fact that it feels like that means that I've put in the work. It means that I have shown up as my authentic self, both professionally and personally, to create these real relationships. And now that is, switching off between personal and professional. Like, I love to hang out with my clients because a lot of them have become internet friends and I want to hang out on calls with them. And I've created a space where we can both be humans where that's fun and you get to know me and you see my kids all the time. Hopefully not all the time. They're going back to school. But um that creating that genuine network has just absolutely blown my mind. And there's no way to quantify that. Like, I could sit down and look at my revenue growth year over year, and like that's pretty impressive to me. Um, but that's sort of a lagging indicator of where I want this to go. And I have goals that I'm aiming at for my revenue for the next year or two, but realistically, I know that's going to come from people I know and people I know knowing what I can do. And that's all that I aim at. And that has gotten me so far.
Rocket science, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. And this is where we've created rocket science in some of our funnel metrics that we track and try to apply. And what else challenge is that if you can be so bold to suggest that based on past performance, you can get 1,000 leads that will turn into 100 deals that will close 10. Why is it not okay to say, we showed up once a week, twice a week with this content? The important part is that alignment of the outcome. So in the funnel metrics, the 10, the 10 closed deals is in a lot of cases 100% faith that based on past metrics, like, and nothing's changing in the market, we can get 1,000 leads and it'll equal 10 deals, right? I'm just gonna leave that there. So if you can do that, if you can make that jump, and we can align on the fact that if we are in the community every day, adding value, being a part of the conversation as an outcome, that is the reason that output becomes a viable metric, right? Like
Yep.
part of one of my metrics for Profoundly is long form content, and it's at 10 per week, right? Which is actually low right now because I show up with 2 daily shows,
Yeah.
right? But that's where like showing up that way allows me to record live at Inbound all 3 mornings, wake up customer platform. You know how expensive that would be if I tried to like create a marketing
Saunter your
campaign
way into
and like
that.
try to work with Inbound? Like it's it's not even possible, let
Yeah.
alone how expensive it is. But these other industries like pharma, like paying $15,000 to show up for an hour webinar because that's the cost of that slot. This is what earning it looks like. And when you show up in the community, right, those are the additional outcomes, the additional
Mhm.
brand building that just happens. And I'm so thankful for Gabby and the team this year taking care of us inbound correspondents.
Mhm.
But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that this is a part of the plan, right? Like I don't like signing up like the whole session submission. Like I would love to be able to talk at
Yeah.
inbound, but that's not always for me.
Yeah.
And here I am, like granted, over 600 live. So I'm not saying like you just go out tomorrow and make this happen.
Yeah.
Nor is everybody in the position to have the space to do that. But that gets me a spot showing up at inbound in a super valuable way that I cannot like put real measurement on, right?
Right.
You just can't, right? So enough um, boasting about my inbound appearances, but I'm serious though, right? Like it's I didn't know there was no goal of like, all right, I want to show up 3 times at inbound, so I'm going to start doing all this content.
Yeah.
No, it's like I want good things to happen, and I want to share knowledge, and
Yeah.
you know, and good things have happened. So
Yeah. You put good vibes out, you get good vibes back. I mean, we're in the same boat. I hate selling. So I'm like selling. I think I realized I just hate bad selling. So as we start to think about our approach to inbound as cartographer, like that's not a place for me to sell. I'm not going to show up and start pitching people on the floor. I would never do that anywhere because it makes me hilariously uncomfortable. But it is definitely not the place to try and fine tune it at inbound, despite the fact that almost half of that room is probably a target audience for me. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to have real conversations. I'm excited to hang out with people who do the same thing I do and compare notes. I'm excited to meet with PMs because I have so much to talk about. And I've usually found that when you're at those demo stations where the PMs hang out, there are other people who have the same questions. And you just get into this like sweet little moment where they're asking questions, you're answering their questions, the PM gets to hear what you're talking about and struggling with, and it's just like a magical client conversation that happens, or not client, but customer conversation that HubSpot gets to listen in on, without having to set that up or pay me a gift card for feedback or schedule it on my calendar. Like, I'm just there because I want to be there. I want to be part of that conversation. I want my voice to be heard. I want to provide value where I can. And even if it's just me, some other person, and the PM, that's still going to be probably the highlight of my week.
yep. And like when in this last conversation I had the concept of co-webinar with HubSpot because I'm a partner came up. And I was like, I would love to, but there's a bunch of red tape and stuff involved in that. And I'm not a high partner. And like
Yeah.
there's all these reasons why that would take me forever.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we got PMs that love sharing their content. They unbox
And we
like
love
stuff with
them.
me. And it's like this whole different level of marketing because at the heart of it, I know they need help,
Right.
like showing off their products outside of the product updates card.
Yep.
Right. And they have the permission to do it too. Like, so it's
That's
a
the
little bit
big
of
part.
understanding of how everybody's in this position that we're talking about. Everybody needs to move faster. All the old metrics are not working as well, right? So maybe be a little bolder and definitely don't do this on your own. Like I proved this
Yeah.
out for 90 days and then I'm like, hey, I'm looking for 5 people because this is a lot,
Yeah.
right? And then you start to spread that out. And at the end of the year, we had 12 different other people besides me showing up. I mean, you and Brian
Yeah.
like started just taking your own show, and I love the ROI of you and Brian like
Right?
starting a new venture. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the things that don't get measured,
Yeah.
right? But how powerful is that? And there's been a number of people. So again, like you don't always know how it's going to come back, but
Right.
it does when you start from a place. And you mentioned inbound. It's very easy to see the people that are there to create and share value versus
Mhm.
the people who are there looking for leads.
Mhm.
And not all of the room like wants to be like some of them are in the market and they want to talk to the people looking for leads, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Just know that it's very easy to see one versus the other, right? So just be intentional with that
Yeah.
and know that you can get value either way. I'm super excited for your happy hour. That's on
Yay,
Tuesday
me
night,
too.
yeah?
Yeah, I think we have very limited space and we've got a wait list running. So the event is actually capped at about 30. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm so
I think I
excited to
signed
just
up.
you did.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
And so
You're
many.
on the list. You're one of at least 30. So I'm so excited though, because that's exactly what we want to be doing is like hanging out with our internet friends in real life. Like nobody is coming into that room selling. I promise you. You will not want to sell to us. We will sniff out that BS from a mile away.
Like a little Reddit island.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be a great time, and then we've still got plenty of time to hang out with everybody else the rest of the week, so I'm
Yeah.
stoked. I cannot wait to get out there.
Yep, it's gonna be a blast seeing everybody. But again, before you get there, talking about measurement, the data summits like came into being from this pillar. Like we've got to find a way to figure out how to manage data and
Yeah,
measurement better to support this value first concept that everybody kind of understands as the way forward, but it's very hard to move away from KPIs
yeah,
that we know and sometimes love. Uh, but yeah, hang out with us on Thursday, register, and you get access to all the content. Danielle and like 20 other, HubSpot experts are showing up to
crazy
do some
lineup.
awesome stuff.
Yeah,
So that's about one of the few things you might be able to control in terms of AI and what's going to come at inbound. So hopefully you can find some value there. And I guess it'll be a couple weeks. We'll be back here.
yeah.
Are we going to be able to prevent an inbound recap of some sort on,
No, it's just gonna
on the
happen. It's
show?
just gonna
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah. Too easy, right? Just show up, embrace the flow of value, and just like don't
Yeah,
try to fight it. Um, so yeah, we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks, or on Thursday, or at inbound. All the opportunities.
we'll be there.
Um, Thanks so much, Danielle.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great week.